Advocate Salie.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I've been dying for this moment. You might not know it, but I'm very involved in sports, especially cricket. I come from a cricket family. Some of my questions will be on the presentation, others off from the presentation. So please bear with me because there is quite a few questions. And remember, we have constituencies that we also have to answer to, that we go into our communities and we ask the relevant questions. So firstly, with regard to mini cricket, and guess what? I was a mini cricket coach. So I hope I'm also going to go somewhere. But that being said, the reality with mini cricket, yes, we have a lot of volunteers that is assisting in mini cricket. And obviously, I volunteered for many years in both Ottomans and Primroses. So the situation with mini cricket is that we do find that gap in mini cricket where the children start actually disappearing after the mini cricket leg already. And even within mini cricket, because you're depending on parents and volunteers, you have your gatekeeping, which happens in clubs, mini cricket, and attempts at the hubs as well to gatekeep children from advancement, to take your child or your friend's child and push them forward in cricket. So mini cricket, only 30% of public schools appears to be having access to mini cricket, which means there are many young people who are not having access to mini cricket. So I want to know, how do we bring the passion for cricket into these schools, and how do we work on identifying the schools where there is no mini cricket happening? Then I want us to go to hubs. So in terms of the hubs, I must say it is a fantastic initiative. Upskilling kids to obtain bursaries at your traditional cricket schools is life-changing, but there's only a certain amount of young people who's actually going to have access to these name brand schools, and we know which the name brand schools are. So the thing is, we have a history of providing young people with scholarships for cricket to the name brand schools. Why is more effort not placed on nurturing promising cricketers with good coaches and empowerment within their own areas and in their own schools? So I do know that we have a problem with infrastructure, but we need to work on how we're going to get these infrastructures into these townships. Instead of taking our young people out of the townships, but putting them in schools like your Greys and your Bishops and your Sacks, etc. And instead, why are we not growing them in their own township and let them become a beacon of hope for other children as well? Going further, it will be great for Cricket South Africa to partner with schools to provide kids with more holistic development opportunities, so even the township schools. Now, assisting in hubs myself, I assist in a different format from COVID period up until now. Many young people, we're talking about transport and access to hubs, but is this actually happening? Because I'm finding many young people walking in gang-infested areas to get to the hubs. The safety of these young people, for me, is a major concern. Other than that, the biggest challenge is that kids are already stunted with the impact of mental and physical development, and expecting them to walk from school on an empty stomach and then wanting to walk to the hub, and the challenges that these kids are facing. They don't have clothes, they don't have takis, they don't have equipment. So these are also aspects that we need to look at. Right now, from the many NPOs and NPCs that we involve, people with basics, including food, but more needs to be done. And also looking, with the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture, but I always encourage that we look into our sister portfolios for their assistance as well, where it comes to sports and feeding and clothing of these young people. Now, pumping money into schools, which is termed as the focus schools, I think we've mentioned this now a few times. Pumping money into schools, which is termed focal schools, such as Western Cape Sports School, didn't work and was a waste of money. It is impossible to get to the level of your bishops with their world-class facilities, the quality programs and coaches. At this stage, Cricket South Africa can't get us into the same cricket league as these boys' schools. So one of the considerations should be to ensure that disadvantaged kids have equal development opportunities by playing the 8 Rondebosch teams, like your Wynberg boys, your Sachs, your Bishops, your Paul Wis, Paul Jim. So for true transformation to start, we can each ask schools to dedicate their facilities for 2 days of the year. It's not a lot to ask. This will relate to 114 matches per year in this province alone. This is just some of the suggestions that we can reach out to the more developed and structured schools. Then, looking at townships. Now, I've watched the Langa and Gugulethu clubs being used. I think Gugulethu is in the Premier League, if I'm not mistaken. When considering how serious we are taking transformation of cricket, what type of support has been provided to township cricket clubs? Quality training, coaching, proper equipment, nutrition, and medical support. Because I think we often take for granted, because we look at the more affluent who has, but we forget that our townships does not have access. What happens if an injury occurs? What is going to happen with regard to medical support of our cricketers in the townships? Have we looked at what equipment they have? What infrastructure they have? So this is all part of transformation that we need to take extremely seriously. And I know that concerns has been raised surrounding our township cricket clubs. 2027 World Cup. I was quite embarrassed to see our lack of transformation in cricket, because 30 years down the line, I've expected much more. What is the plan? And I think it has been alluded to. What is the plan and target to ensure transformation in the 2027 World Cup? I'm very proud of our women's cricket club, the league. I'm super proud of the developments, but it took very long to get to that point. So what I want to know is, on your mini cricket level, I know that you found a lot of cricketers in the hubs, but when I look into the clubs, they are losing a lot of female cricketers. So that is one concern. So I'm concerned about, when you look at transformation in South African cricket, and we had this embarrassing moment recently where transformation was obviously lacking, how are we going to ensure continuity of the women's league? What are we doing lower down to ensure young ladies and children, especially our females, are having an interest being taken to the games? Because I noticed some marketing, etc. What is marketing is being done with regard to that? And what training is being provided from your mini cricket right through to ensure that we hold on and capture the females for future women leagues? There was also mention made about our differently able cricketers, and it's just a mention made in these documents. But there's no presentation on what is happening with our different abled cricketers. Why? How many are there? What are we doing? How are we developing them? The presentation, though good, has been silent on our differently abled cricketers. Then also, we've mentioned about certain issues that we have in cricket, and I know the betting and all that has been a problem for a very long time, and I don't think it's just South Africa, it's an international problem. Racial discrimination in cricket. It has been going on for years, and there was a situation with Quina and Steyn not too long ago. What happened with that particular comment that was made? And how equipped are we in Cricket South Africa to deal with racial discrimination? And also, I think one of the things that hits me hard is I would love to know, we spoke about gatekeeping in cricket. How is selections being made with regard to the Protea squad? Because there are information coming forth that it is the coach, the director of cricket and team captain who's making these selections. Please, can you take us into confidence and advise us how selections are being made in cricket? Those are my questions for now, because I'm sure that my honorable colleagues would also like to ask some questions. I will hopefully ask some more later. Thank you.